Hey there, welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about horror games. I like horror, and I like games. I don't like to play horror games, but I'm part of the majority that loves to watch others play them. Why? If people put me in a situation like theirs, I wouldn't know where to start. And I'm a coward. As for the people who play them, that takes balls. But how can I like it when I don't play horror-based games? Well, there's a big difference. Being in a game is very immersive. You feel like you're in the virtual world, and every action you make counts for something good or bad. Every game has a different way of completing it and learning something about it that makes you think, which is why I like them so much. Games that have story and lore leave you wondering more about it. You keep asking yourself what is going on, and when you want to quit the game, you can't help but wonder what happens next. It's why I find horror games so unique and terrifying simultaneously. There are incredibly scary or disturbing moments about them that pique some interest in me. The types of movies I watched are fantastic because you have these monsters, these creatures or insane murderers from people with intriguing minds and different ideas creating these characters. It was hard to believe the time and effort the people put into the designs of the creatures and their hidden stories. The main problem is that most movies created now are lazy and predictable. They use CGI for almost everything, trying to immerse you in this world with these dumb characters used for dying. Let's make it less obvious, so it's worth watching. Why do you want to go to a creature-killing planet? That makes no sense. My first action would be to find somewhere else to go. The next would be, why start a fight with gigantic creatures more technologically advanced than us? The only films I appreciate are the ones that think logically with actual moments that would happen and make it scary. Often it's also people or humans that can be terrifying, making you question how capable one or more people can be. This leads me to this franchise, Five Nights at Freddy's, a point-and-click survivor that has you take the position of a night guard that has to survive, well, 5 nights at a rip-off Chuck E. Cheese restaurant. Released in 2014 by Scott Cawthon, I saw that this game became really popular. The first Five Nights at Freddy's isn't as bad as the new Fnaf games released today, yet players felt intrigued and had many questions about the lore. Enter the game theorist MatPat and his unbelievable Fnaf videos. These theories started when everyone voted for Fnaf to be analyzed. Fnaf had this immense timeline that would be rewritten every time a new installment was released. Or you would go back to find essential or minor details that would change everything about the lore. I can see the frustration from these games and how one man chooses to make this entire series challenging to solve. While everyone has these fantastic theories, it's always so close yet so far to actually figuring out the franchise as a whole. Fnaf 1 was a simple survivor where you had 2 doors to protect yourself against the animatronics roaming around. You use cameras around the pizzeria to keep track of each animatronic that's active each night. Bonnie and Chica will appear anywhere, mainly at your doors, with Bonnie on the left and Chica on the right. Foxy hides out in Pirate's Cove and will run at your door unless you keep an eye on him when you can. Freddy is difficult to handle as he teleports to different positions in the restaurant and finds ways to get into your office, while this unknown animatronic Golden Freddy crashes your game. You also need to keep track of power or else everything will go out, and Freddy will sing you a song and kill you. Overall, it was like an arcade game where if you fail, you can continue the night where you left off. It's the gameplay, the atmosphere, and the ambience that makes this game so memorable. Such a great game.
If you left at it, there's something seriously wrong with you.
When Fnaf 2 came out, the fan base was hyped. While Scott would have trouble getting the release dates correct, everyone else was pissing themselves with this sequel. Fnaf 2 followed the same premise as the first game, instead challenging players with no doors to protect yourself, only a flashlight, a spare Freddy mask, and winding up a music box with a terrifying surprise. It was a challenging game to complete where animatronics appeared left, right, and in front of you, but something unexpected happened. You had these Atari-style games or cutscenes that were part of the game's entire lore. Everyone quickly went to work finding more hidden secrets that could be found in the game. This was where everything started kicking off with the theory community and finding out what was happening. Michael! Then Scott released Fnaf 3. The game gives you no doors, you're given a device that resets your systems if they malfunction, and need to be used before you die. Instead of having more animatronics, you're only facing one, Springtrap, along with annoying hallucinations catching you off guard. You need to distract and lure Springtrap away with sound files, or he'll start to get suspicious of you and kill you if you don't. Fnaf 3 takes place in a Halloween attraction called Fazbear Frights. At the same time, old animatronics are being used as horror attractions for the public, except one is still active and angry, so you beat the game as usual and burn the place down. It was also another game filled with hidden secrets and lore. The community banded together and found many secret messages, mini games, true endings, thinking that this was finally it.
You brought that upon yourself.
Your accent still sucks, Freddy.
You know what? I give up trying.
JK, Scott made another one. The issue with FNAF 3 was that it wasn't as scary as many people thought it would be. So as a response, Scott made FNAF 4 a living nightmare. It's an understatement to say this game is terrifying. Labeled the final chapter, not really, FNAF 4 flips the script. Instead of a security guard, you play as a child trying to survive your nights in a bedroom with a flashlight and your doors. It's like playing hide and seek with monsters. You have to watch them or else they'll catch you when you least expect it. The animatronics start to show up on different nights to make the moment stressful. Like the first game, Bonnie and Chica are at your doors, but as nightmare animatronics. You have to hear their breathing to know if they're at your door. Freddy is at your bed with these little frettles that show up and you can scare off. Foxy just dances around in your room and then retreats to your closet. Every night you complete, you're put in another Atari-styled story where your birthday is coming up. You're scared of animatronics while your stupid brother keeps jump scaring you and making it worse. Each night you complete, you feel your impending doom slowly creeping up on you, while other nightmare animatronics make your life miserable, while the Plus Trap minigames bring so much more suspense. And then it ends with your death, from a prank gone wrong. The child passes away and was left with an unknown voice. I will put you back together. So many people tore this game apart, finding more information about this story. Who was the crying child and what was in that box? The FNAF community was stumped while they had some puzzle pieces, and they were still determining where they would fit. So Scott addressed the situation and decided to keep working on more games for the future, since he felt his original story wouldn't have been accepted by the fan base. So he broke from the mainline FNAF games and made a spin-off, FNAF World, an RPG cartoon world where you recruit animatronic friends to take down Scott's old creations from failed games he's developed, and parodies as well. At the same time, Scott was also working on a book series for FNAF that were separate from the games. Kinda. While the community was still working to figure out the game's lore, Scott was working behind the scenes on something big. As you complete the game, Scott leaves a teaser for the next FNAF game involving something sinister. I'm allergic to peanut butter! The next installment would be the FNAF Sister Location, where you play as a technician worker at this unknown location that stores these fun-time animatronics, created by William Afton, a name that fans correlate to the books. The animatronics consist of Baby, Ballora, Funtime Foxy, Funtime Freddy, the Mini-Renas, and the Biddy Babs. Sister Location ultimately changes how you play FNAF. When you start, it's not like the last games. You'll have to crawl through vents to fix and check on the animatronics to see if they're in working order. This game features voice actors as well, playing each animatronic as they taunt you, speak to you, and guide you. Baby usually talks to you the most, giving you info about herself and stories about her time working with kids. If you looked deeper into this game, you found out she was built to lure children, but we can only guess why that is. The game plays more like a story where you have to progress through each objective so you can complete your shift, watch a soap opera, and come back the next day. Each night does something different as you uncover the story and its hidden lore. Completing the game would give you an unexpected ending. You were played, manipulated, and betrayed as Baby and the animatronics form together as Ennard and scoop you. This game really hits differently when you play through it. Of course, everyone traditionally looked for more secrets and found some, including a minigame where you play as Baby, feeding kids cupcakes and learn about her actual programming. Just like the story she describes when you visit her stage, while you can play a classic style of FNAF with Ennard through a different path. However, the outcome remains the same. Scott would then make a custom night challenge for Sister Location, introducing us to other animatronics and challenging each of us every time we play. Then we meet an odd character we've never seen before. If you beat every night with a higher difficulty, you get these cutscenes of a character slowly degrading and rotting when he just spews out metal spaghetti. Finally, you meet the newest addition to the family, Michael Afton, son of William Afton. Two purple guys exist in this franchise, which confused many of us. We already knew the purple guy was William, but his son Mike just appearing just left us wondering who was Springtrap then. This was an awful time for everyone, confident that they knew the story.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth. If you still even remember that name.
Next we had Five Nights at Freddy's Pizza Simulator, or FNAF 6. You're running a pizza restaurant and ensuring you collect these strange animatronics in the back alley for salvage. Your boss gives you a task to ensure you have them by the end of the week. Just when you thought this would be a lovely FNAF sim, it turns out
That doesn't mean your job is finished, however.
you're left in this husk of an office with 2 vents leading directly towards you. You have a job and a goal to purchase items and more for the restaurant. Make sure you don't get ads. Additionally, each animatronic gives you something to worry about. There's a feature in your office to play audio files in the ventilation system to keep animatronics occupied. If you're not careful, they'll find you. You also need to watch the heat, so make sure you have the fan on. If you complete the entire week, you're greeted by Baby, who believes you gave her a restaurant full of kids to kill. Except your boss cuts her off, telling her his true intention for this job he created for us, for all of them, and to end the awful tragedies that happened to all the children murdered and stuffed in suits. To burn the animatronics you collected and free the souls of the remaining children, while killing the murderer. This in turn gives you an ending where the Fazbear franchise has shut down, ending the awful events that had occurred, completing the story we desperately tried to solve. You can always go back to finish the game and find more mini games that give you more lore. Once Scott had completed his story, we spent 5+ years trying to solve. As a celebration, Scott created the Ultimate Custom Night. Almost every animatronic we've known from the franchise has been added to the Ultimate FNAF Challenge to survive a gauntlet of animatronics with different mechanics and abilities until 6 p.m. The idea of this game was non-canon, but a fun challenge for players to go against however many characters Scott wanted you to face. Earning the highest score would give you bonus cutscenes with parodies and strange high school stories with Toy Chica. They were funny and creative, but also intriguing, as each one had a meaning behind them. All but one stood out, as we saw this lonely animatronic, Golden Freddy, slumped, jerking, and slowly beginning to fade away. It left an ominous emotion to everyone when they saw this, while trying to piece together this meaning. Another idea from Scott was to challenge his fans to see who could beat the Ultimate Custom Night, as a reward to do an interview with Scott Cawthon himself. Accepting the challenge, these YouTubers had done the impossible and earned the chance to speak with Scott himself, while answering non-canon questions. Truly historic.
It's me with the milky eyes.
Just when we thought this was it, Scott would then give us FNAF VR. Okay. Apparently, this game takes place after everything we know, except we play as someone who goes through this experience of all the events of FNAF throughout these compilations, while you find random cassette tapes recorded by someone trying to warn you about the game, then revealing another character dressed as a rabbit, Glitchtrap. Glitchtrap is a virus that has corrupted the game and our minds, making things more complicated than ever. With the Halloween release of Dreadbear, many people began to look for more details about this character in play, finding a bunny mask and finding out she's working for Glitchtrap. Later, Scott would release a mobile app called FNAF AR, where the animatronics are delivered to your door. Instead of fun times, you're being tracked down and must protect yourself and collect their remnant. But as all FNAF fans, we started to look deeper into this game and discovered these messages. Emails of different people and departments having strange problems and troubling things, while one character stood out from the rest, Vanessa.
Her name again.
At some point, the community had the advantage of freely roaming FNAF VR with limited restrictions. That's when they discovered the new location under construction. It only went deeper as Scott would drop FNAF VR to mobile apps. When you open the game, it seems like a low-quality version of the VR game. Except for collecting tapes, you play this strange 2D game called Princess Quest, where the objective is to light the torches and fight these viruses. If you beat the game, you uncover this massive corruption that speaks to you in binary language, saying,
I always come back.
Gregory, do you see the small vent on the floor? Have you ever heard of Among Us, Gregory? You need to vet.
Just like that, FNAF Security Breach is next. Vanessa returns as a security guard, and we play as a child named Gregory. We're aided by Glamrock Freddy, who helps us through the Pizzaplex and hides Gregory from the animatronics after him. This was a new experience as we had free roam around a massive mall, while having to watch our backs every step of the way. We knew this was a fresh take on FNAF we'd never seen before. You go through a lot in this game while the community continues to theorize what they think will happen next, while we're left with hidden messages, Easter eggs, and these unknown therapy sessions that were recorded. As for me, I've been highly invested in all of this, but I'm not a theorist. As much as I want to be a part of the community, I don't want to dedicate the rest of my life reading and hunting down everything to get the truth. MatPat's already done that for us, and so has the FNAF community. I only know that the timeline consisted of a family and a killer, which leaves the question of how it all started and where this occurred. Everyone already had gotten the details with Fredbear's Family Diner, which gave vague but vital information that led us to find out more about the missing children's incident, where the killer murdered these children in the back of a pizzeria and stuffed them in these suits. Really dark, right? But that's not all. This killer, William Afton, had a family where he supposedly had 2 sons, a daughter and a wife. William was the financial business partner alongside Henry, who helped build animatronics and both created Fazbear Entertainment, while assembling different locations like Freddy Fazbear's Pizza chain restaurants. Now, many didn't understand what William's intentions were and why he became a murderer. Was it out of spite? Did he just not like kids? Or maybe it was jealousy towards Henry for being a much more successful businessman than himself. So one day he gets sick of it and decides to take what Henry has left and kills his only daughter. God only knows what at this point. While we don't have all the clear answers yet, many people got to work and Scott himself would leave clues in his games or address them on his page. By this point, we understood there is a story, just not in the correct places. So we also know William's youngest son was killed by a prank gone wrong by his oldest brother, Michael Afton. At the same time, William loses his daughter Elizabeth to his own creation, Baby, an animatronic he built to lure children. William then goes on another killing spree, petrified by the angry spirits of the children once killed in one of the Fazbear locations. He gets into a spring-lock suit designed for performance, then gets crushed by the failing spring-lock mechanisms. Now that's irony right there. William slumped in pain, trapped in his own sins and mistakes, waiting to enact revenge, vowing to come back with every waking minute. As for his wife, we can only assume she left him or died in some way we don't know about. On the other hand, filled with guilt and regret, Mike decides to take matters into his own hands, fix what he had done to his brother, and fix what his father had done to the angry souls that haunt the animatronics. This explains why we always play a night guard in every FNAF game, at least until the end of FNAF 3 and 6, where it all burns down, and Henry returns to help Mike end it all. Simple, right? Not even close. That is the problem with this series. What I briefly gave was the bare minimum. Each game has you put all the pieces together to understand where the story begins or ends. So many characters and players in this franchise affect the timeline in insane ways. Pizza Simulator was an end of an era, while FNAF VR was the start of a new one. Sister Location gave its first story with actual voice actors and more lore than we can dig up. The simple tragedy of a family falling apart became a fictional sci-fi horror where viruses control people, immortality exists, and robots are disguised as humans. This series took an overwhelming turn, and I wish it would have ended peacefully. This franchise did way too much to the story. We still have DLCs that'll be released soon, more books, and a movie, which I hope isn't bloated and insane as the books. God can only hope. However, one outcome I can at least respect is the fan base. This entire franchise inspired so many people to create their own FNAF stories, fan games, and an incredible amount of art and cosplay. While YouTubers like Game Theory, Markiplier, Daco, and more have become so well known because of this franchise. It's impressive because an indie developer showed us you can make a flop into a successful game. Adapt in numerous ways, be creative about your work, and share your vision with a community that enjoys and admires your craftsmanship. And it all started with one game. Truly remarkable. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button or leave a comment about your favorite FNAF game. If you're coming back on the regular, be sure to subscribe too. Have a great day.